the last thing that we talked about was illegal smile.
Oh yeah.
And we were the whole idea of how that picking pattern, the little picking pattern goes.
Hmm.
We started going down that path, and in the course of doing that, you were picking out the beginning of "Who'll Stop the Rain."
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that diverted me to "Who'll Stop the Rain,"
Yeah.
and well, for all kinds of reasons. And so I started working on "Who'll Stop the Rain,"
Yeah.
which was a lot of fun. There's that's I mean it's just a lot of fun, I guess, for no other reason, and has its challenges. So been working on that, and have been trying to go back to try to figure out the second, or the picking part of illegal smile, which I can't quite get. So maybe what we ought to do is I'll do "Who'll Stop the Rain" here for a bit,
Okay.
and sort of show you where I am on that, and then go back to smile and see if I can, whatever brain fade I have or inability to find that, but
Okay.
work on that. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
It's,
um,
it's funny with like "Who'll Stop the Rain" because I heard you noodling with it right there.
yeah,
It's a really simple thing. It's four notes that are all right there in the chord,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like he turned that into a hook. Although it took one more thing. It took the passing bass note down to E minor, and then the same thing on E minor, right? So you hear this, and watching you do that, I just another song of his that does the exact same thing. He just puts a chord on and plays the notes in a very particular order, and it's iconic. You know,
yeah.
same type of thing, a four-note sequence, one chord. All you got to do is hit the right strings at the right time.
Right, really. Yeah, good. Well, born on the good. That gives me something else to look forward to.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, this is fun. So, um,
wow, you got it.
yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah. The and even got the timing of that odd timing of the little break. Where you get to the last chord on beat 4 of a measure and it feels like it's beat 1.
yeah,
And so it's a lot of times people miss that and cut that whole thing a beat short. Because that big accent on beat 4 really messes you up. Yeah. So good job counting that out. My only real suggestion on that is, after you've picked out as close as you can to those first couple notes, they don't have to be individual strings, right? They can be a couple of strings. As long as like the second stroke is a small up that doesn't include the first string. That's what you want to just make sure you do, is like, that you hear this, that you hear the B as the main thing there, and then the next down, the G as the highest thing. So it's like you can really get 2 or 3 strings on each of those strokes, as long as the highest one is the target note, right? And then it's really easy to hit the high note on the up there, right? And for the second half of that measure, be a little more bigger notes. Like don't pick out any more individual notes, so that you hear these pretty clearly, and you hear more like a soft strumming in the background of there as a kind of texture change.
Okay.
Okay. It's not really that big a deal, but it's like it's don't be so specific in the second half about hitting just 1 or 2 strings. Like make it a little bit more strumming.
Right.
Yeah, and then as you were strumming through the rest of it, a couple other really cool things happened. One is, you can always hit a bass note first on the first beat of the measure, and you can make that really clean. So try to maybe work on that a little bit, of getting a really solid bass note, and then the rest of it just strummed exactly the way you were.
Okay. And the on the there's a couple places where it seems like the melody comes out if you bring other elements into it, like in the third line, the first verse.
Yeah.
Starts with so it seems like it's what it should be.
Well, that's
maybe not should be, but
absolutely do that, And what that does is, what you're doing there is hitting the note you would be singing.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's totally fine, to mix up stuff like that. And yeah, or to vary things like that, another thing that you might do is, when it gets to the E minor at the end on the Who'll Stop the Rain line, just hit it and let it ring for the whole measure. And still I wonder who'll stop the rain. And then come back in with the G on the word rain.
Oh, okay.
So just hit it and let it ring for the whole measure on that E minor.
Right. Yeah.
So that adds a little variety to it too. Same kind of suggestion I've had in the past with getting to the bar chord. Again, get your hand a little further up the neck quicker. Yeah, it's still you're going like halfway, and this finger's not really cranked around parallel to the fret. Like it's still even not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're trying to listen to what I'm saying, but that's So just keep working on that. On getting that. You got there really in plenty of time. So it's getting more comfortable. That's good.
And I find that I'm trying to get down lower and all, but for whatever reason I leave my thumb back there a lot. I don't know. It's just something I know I do.
Yeah.
I'm not here. It's behind the action. It needs to come up here. So.
Yeah. So you have to commit to moving it further up the neck. Yeah, like that. That looks great.
I'll think further up the neck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He does a lot of his songs have these cool little twists. Like in this one, the strumming bridge. Just those chords to break it up.
Right.
He does that in a lot of songs. Sometimes he'll run through a couple of chords and then modulate. Like Lodi goes up a step after running through a little sequence like that. It lands a whole step higher. Whereas the first verse is relatively in G, then he runs through some chords and ends up in A, and then he sings the last verse. And you can hear, if you can run through that song in your head, that in the last verse he's singing higher. It's like he's the last verse is more intense. So, and another unusual thing about this one is that he doesn't go to B minor in the first verse.
Right.
and he only does it in the other verses. I mean, when I first realized that, I spent a lot of my like high school and slightly before time really listening to these guys and figuring out everything he did. It's like this was a major part of my early ear training, was to study his songs and figure out what the chords were and things, and those. Anyway, it was just I was surprised at how. On one hand, how simple they are, but on the other, he always had these cool little twists in them, that were unexpected. Like what the heck's that B minor doing there? It's like he didn't do it the first time. What's he thinking? He can only play it twice in the same song, and his hands get tired. I don't know.
Yeah. Boy, talk about things though. Trying to figure out what they are. I mean, that's where when I'm trying to put that in. That's because I hear that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I hear him singing.
Yeah, and it's very likely that even the guitar, he may have played that C as a bar chord, and you would have heard that high G,
Right.
if he was playing it as a bar. So
Right.
so that's like another level and art to ear training, is not just hearing the chords, but hearing exactly how he's fingering them or something. Like, for example, when I was a kid, figured this out, like everybody did. And a few years later, realized he's not playing it like that. He's got his guitar tuned down a whole step, which changes the whole key. So he's really doing this. So it comes down to an E chord,
Okay.
but he's got the guitar tuned down a whole step, so it's really a D chord.
Right.
And so, but it gets him voicings by playing in the key of E. He can do stuff thinking in the key of E. He can do stuff that he can't do in the key of D. So,
Okay.
so yeah, he's
And
one of my favorites.
did you end up discovering that particular thing because you saw it or you heard it?
I heard it. It's like the pitch is D, but that's not what my D chord sounds like. It's what an E chord sounds like tuned down a whole step.
Got it.
And
Okay.
so it's a kind of subtle thing, and even illegal with John Prine songs. A lot of times, for example, I've got quite a few students who work on his songs that are, and he typically capos somewhere third, fourth, fifth fret,
Yeah.
but uses normal chord shapes like G's and C's and D's and stuff like that. So he might be at the second fret doing his G thing, and you could find music to that, and it has the chords, it has it listed as A, because it really is an A chord when he capos the G to the second, right? But you can hear, because of what he's doing in the picking, that he's not doing it in an A shape. He's doing it on a G chord because of like a hammer-on or something that happens, Yeah. It's kind of like that intro to Vincent
Yeah.
doesn't really work with any chord other than G. It's like those two hammer-ons from open notes to the second fret that fit right in really easily with the chord. Well, if he was playing that song in the key of E, he couldn't have played that. He wouldn't have come up with that melody, because you can't get that sound easily on an E chord. It becomes a pyrotechnic challenge to. It's possible, but it's like
Okay.
so. One thing that whenever I'm trying to figure out a song by somebody, I always take into account their particular level of skill and stuff. How hard do they want to work? And it's usually not very hard. It's like I'm not. If you're Steve Howe in Yes, or Pat Metheny or people like that, they'll do things that are ridiculously impossible and make them sound easy. But that's not the case with most singer-songwriters. It's like they want it to be easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
today actually in the newspaper, it's John's birthday.
oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's my wife's birthday too. I even went out early this morning and bought her flowers before she got up.
So yeah, it's John's birthday.
Wow.
Like every morning while coffee is being made, there's a little quiz that goes on
Uh-huh.
in the kitchen.
Okay.
And quiz comes from the second page of the front section of what I used to think of as the Contra Costa Times, which is now the East Bay Times, which is now essentially the San Jose Mercury News.
Ah,
Same thing, East Bay News Group or something.
yeah.
Anyway, there's a little thing with birthdays of celebrities.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And so there's a little quiz every morning. And today, John Fogerty, I was off by a year on John Fogerty.
Oh, as far as guessing how old he was?
Yeah, what do you think? You,
Um, 75.
that's it.
Oh man, okay.
That's it exactly. Yeah. Yep, I was in the 74 group.
Yeah, okay.
So I am going to continue to work on these things with Who'll Stop the Rain, and maybe I think I'll just do that, and then based on your other comment there about more on the Bayou, maybe
We'll talk about that in just a minute. What's happening with illegal? Oh wait, let me ask you a quick question about the East Bay Times. Do you remember a columnist there named Ray Orrock? Does that ring a bell? Orrock?
No.
Okay. I wasn't sure how far he was syndicated in the East Bay newspapers, but or there's a guy named Dan Mitchell that writes probably a weekly column on it's a cannabis column usually. Have you ever seen that or heard of him? Okay. So those are just two different people I knew that were in the East Bay news groups of some sort, but it's as they get bought up and consolidated and everything else, like I get the San Jose Mercury, which is now printed in Chico, which means their deadline is like 6 o'clock in the evening for stories because the papers are printed in Chico, and then they've got to be at my porch by 4:30. So, they'll never have baseball results or anything else, and anything late at night is history now. But anyway. Okay.
We're all subsumed by, unfortunately, the notion of contemporary news or news up to the moment,
yeah,
is all in the world of 24/7 stuff.
Yeah.
So they know that they can no longer, be the first ones to tell you that the Giants won in the 11th inning of a game.
Right. Yeah.
Game at Candlestick. You're not going to find that out anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
When I was in high school, it was the San Jose. Where were they? They played down there in that little stadium right next to Spartan Stadium.
Yeah, there were a couple of different names for the teams. They were the Bees for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
That was like in the late '60s, early '70s. Yeah.
They were in the PCL.
Yeah.
Which I recall.
Yeah, which was a AAA league. So that was a high-level league. Now the San Jose Giants are like the A-level team for the Giants.
Right.
And the AAA team is in Sacramento.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to there. That's actually a happening deal.
That sounds like fun, too.
Yeah, my daughter lives in Sacramento.
Oh, nice.
Going to the Sacramento games, where they I should be able to think of that. I have it's right here.
Ah.
It's on my desk. The River Cats.
Yeah, the River Cats, sure.
The River Cats. Okay, John Prine, Illegal Smile.
Yeah, let's see what's happening there.
I've looked at that video a zillion times, and sorry, this is the weekly garbage guy that backs down the lane.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
He'll be gone in a second. But I've looked at that and tried to figure out what that little initial picking pattern is, and we talked about this a little bit last week. But what I keep hearing in it is it would appear that he's playing a G. Starting out, he's playing a G, and it sounds like there's a hammer on in the very beginning of the G.
Okay.
It sounds like in slow motion, and I can't get the timing of this at all. It sounds like it's something like, or actually no, it comes from here. No. You got to look at it.
Yeah, let me listen to it again. This was Seth Avit's version, right? Or
Seth Avit's Illegal Smile. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And then at about the 1 minute mark, he plays it between the verses again.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is the one where he's kind of like in a hallway or something, right?
He's on his doorway.
Yeah.
Like his front door.
When I woke up this morning, things were looking bad.
Okay, so he's capoed at the fifth.
Okay.
Yes, and that hammer-on is from open. So yeah, grab a capo so we're in tune with him. Do you have one handy there?
Yeah, I got. Well, it'll take me about 30 seconds.
That's okay, no problem. I'm gonna listen again.
When I woke up this morning, things were looking bad. Seemed like total silence was the only friend I had. A bowl of oatmeal tried to stare me down and won, and it was 12 o'clock before I realized I was having no fun. Ah, but fortunately, I have the key to escape reality, and you may see me.
Get back to the beginning one more time. Okay. So he's doing something very similar to Who'll Stop the Rain, right? He's picking out one note at a time with the pick, right? And it's going very quickly, but it's so slower. It's the hammer-on from the E to the G, from open to the third, right? And then so he's going from the hammer-on up to the D string, and then the G string.
Up on the D.
Down on the D. Down on the D and up on the G. Yeah, so those two. Down on the D and up on the G. Right. And then the next one's an up again too. It actually is the exact same rhythm as that strumming pattern you were just doing in Who'll Stop the Rain. The timing is this. So it's down, down, up, down, up, but just on those individual strings.
Okay, so it's
Yeah, D at the end.
oh, D at the, okay.
Yeah. Up. Then down on the G, and then up on the D, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
down, up, down, up.
Right. Okay, so that's the exact, like, normal folk strumming pattern, just isolating these strings. Yeah. No, right. That's great. I was just going to tell you, just do that strumming pattern a couple of times, even hit the whole chord, because that's the motion. You know, then just, yeah. Yeah.
I gotta stop thinking about that. Okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing that's happening there. The note you hit, the E that you hammer onto the G, that's hit right on beat 1. You know, so it's like it's the first down of the pattern, okay, and that the hammer-on lands on the and of beat 1. So if we would count this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. What you're doing there is you're doing that hammer-on, then hesitating a little bit. You're not getting to beat 2 in time, feeling like there's a gap in there, or that there needs to be one, and there isn't. So you got to think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Okay, that's just it's consecutive.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2. Okay, 1, 2. But the and of 1 is the hammer-on.
There, yeah. How's it?
Okay.
So do you see that you were kind of hesitating here a little bit as you did the hammer-on?
Yes.
And you got to keep moving through it. That you're basically doing a fake up during that hammer-on.
Okay.
You know, you got to make sure that up is still part of the motion.
Okay. Yeah, think of those things. 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's nothing on 3.
Right.
3's the missing down.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't forget that up is the G, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta get that.
And then when you and then make sure not to hesitate at the end either. When you finish that last up, you got to get like right back onto the next one. I'll just play through it 2 or 3 measures really slowly, and you can come back and watch this later. 1, 2, 3, 4. And see, I can even miss notes like that too, so it happens.
Okay, and then it just he keeps that going.
Yeah, and so the second chord is a D with F sharp in the bass.
Right.
So he actually plays the G with his first and second fingers here, rather than any other way. But I mean, rather than the way I would usually do it with these. And then when he goes to the D, it's basically it's a D chord, but he doesn't really need the whole chord on because he's not going to even get to the first string. But he has F sharp in the bass. Now there's so the options of playing D with F sharp in the bass are either wrapping your thumb around like this, which is not what he does. He just goes to the F sharp in the bass with his first finger, and then plays the second and third strings of a normal D chord with his second finger here and his third finger there.
Okay. Well, that's hard to.
It's going to be a little awkward. Yeah, I think that's it though. And then it's the same set of notes. This exact same set of strings without, I don't think he did a hammer-on in here. No, because he's singing during this. So he's not doing the little hammer-on the bass. Okay? So he starts singing, he's singing over this. Then the chord change would be this. I'd have to listen to it again, but you can see pretty easily. Then he's going to a C chord, and he does play the C with G in the bass, but I don't think he doesn't worry about what bass note he's hitting there, because later on he goes to C without the G in the bass.
Okay.
And that's mostly because what he's going to do sometimes. Oh, I know what it is. It's depending on where he's going. If he's going to D7 or G from his C, he'll usually go with the double bass thing here.
Yeah.
But if he's going up the neck for his D7 here, Then he doesn't do it like this because he's getting ready to play the C7 shape up a whole step.
Okay.
Now, have you done that before? Have we talked about this chord ever?
No.
So C7, you would add your little finger. Right. Let me hear that. Yeah. Okay. Now that chord doesn't happen in the song, but moving it up a whole step. Too far.
Yeah, just here.
Yeah. Would make it D7.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Right.
That's if you watch Seth's hands, when you see him go up the neck, that's what he's doing. He's playing the D7 out of a C7 shape, which if you only play the 4 strings that you've got fingers on, you can play this any place as long as you don't play the 2 open strings. It could be this is a bar chord. It's a movable chord like our E and A families.
Right.
Okay? But this is going to tie in really well to the other thing we got to talk about today. This is cool. But when you move it up to D, and if you include the E with it, it sounds great. But E is not a note in a D7 chord.
Right.
What is the note that makes D D7?
The note that makes D D7. So it would be the 7th coming from D, which would be C.
Yeah. Now in a D scale, in every major scale, it's a half step from 7 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which means C is not in a D scale.
Right.
C sharp is.
C sharp.
Right? But the definition of the chord we call 7, we've touched on this, but the definition of the chord we call 7, it has what we call a flatted 7th. The 7th is not the 7th from the scale, it's a half step low.
Right.
Right? So like on a G chord, that's an F. It's a whole step below. On an A chord, it's a G.
Okay.
On a C chord, it wouldn't be B because B is the 7th of C, it'd be B flat.
B flat.
Right? Okay. So C, and when you think about a D7 chord played down here, there's the C. That's what made it D7, was the C on the second string. That's the only note different between this D, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. But now I've got a D7 chord, which means I have 1, 3, 5, and a flatted 7th, D, F sharp, A, and C natural.
Right.
And now if I add an E to it, what number would E be in the D world?
In the D world, it would be 2.
2. And it would also be past D. If D is 1, D is also 8.
Right.
Which means E is also
9.
9. This is a D9 chord.
Oh, okay.
And because it has, and the definition of a 9th chord is it has to have a 7th in it, too. So a 9th chord has to have 5 notes.
Okay.
1, 3, 5, flat 7, and 9.
And 9.
So this is the easiest way to play a D9 chord. Well, there's actually one other easy way, but this is a common way. If you include the E, it'd be more correct to call it D9.
Okay.
Okay. Enough theory on that for today, but it's a really useful chord shape.
Yeah, but if I was playing C7 back here,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, so that's the C, and that's the C, right?
No,
that's
that's the note that makes it 7. What makes C7?
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're back to that's a B flat.
Right, that's the B flat.
Yeah, that's the B flat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go back and listen to Seth one more time, see if there's anything else that jumps out as far as the progression goes. And then, of course, once it changes times and goes into the chorus, it's just 3/4 strumming. It's just hit a bass note, bum, da 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 da, bum. So that part's really straightforward. But let me listen all the way through a verse here now.
Yeah.
When I woke up this morning,
Here's that.
things were looking bad.
Okay, so that was one measure of each of those chords, right? It's the G. When I woke up this morning, the D with F sharp in the bass. Things were looking bad. So that was G to D to C, back to G, right? And then it's back to C. Seems like was the only friend I had, or something like that, right? There's a quick change coming up.
Yep.
Seemed like
C.
total silence was the only friend I had.
Oh, now that was the one. He did go up the neck for that. So he did. Seems like So it was a really quick D7 up there, you know, just for 2 beats. But there's no reason that you couldn't do that here either. But it does let him get the same. It's now a consistent sound of what strings he gets in the picking pattern, because he comes up here, you know, and we really never hear the high string, the first string, ever so far in his stuff, because it's very controlled picking. Let me look at one more thing. Okay, so he also does this. First of all, it's very fast, as we can tell, you know, and he's very proficient at it, you know. He's also doing it with a light anchor here the whole time. He's not free strumming this, and that really helps the accuracy. You know, so when I say a light anchor, it's like not a big brace like, oh, you can't see, sorry. Let me give you a better view there. It's not a big brace like this, like you put your finger down and lock it tight. That'll tighten up your whole hand. So it's like I let this knuckle of my fourth finger, little finger, just touch the pick guard, kind of, you know, and that keeps my hand balanced and you know, yeah.
Okay.
And so you could definitely work on it like that, and so you're more like pivoting on that knuckle. You know, as far as your hand goes, nothing's really moving. You don't have the mass of your arm moving. That's what's hard. You know, if I was taking big strokes at these, you know, this whole thing's moving, and that really decreases the accuracy of the clean, you know, hitting each string cleanly, like we hear him do there.
Right.
So that's what's going on there.
Are you in contact here?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, on the wrist.
No.
No, this is the only contact is with that knuckle. Yeah, you can see if I, you know, see there's some space there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, this is a really bad habit. Well, there are times you want to do this when you want to muffle the bass notes.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a different technique, but bracing, you know, locking this down anywhere really limits your mobility.
Okay.
So yeah.
So here.
Yeah. Little finger and you know, really, again, this knuckle is touching the top of the guitar, and almost the tip of this finger is even touching the first string sometimes, or right next to it. You know, I mean, and in this song you could be grabbing it because we don't need to play. We don't want to play the first string, so that will help. You know, if you're touching the first string, that makes it even easier to find your bearings and hit the right stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Enough on that for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So keep watching his video, because, I mean, again, it's real clear what he's playing as far as the chords go. The trickiest one, the hardest ones to recognize probably would be that D with F sharp in the bass, you know, but now you know that. And then when he came up the neck, that's that C7 shape.
Okay.
Okay.
To play that D with F sharp in the bass,
Yeah.
have to start playing the G.
No, what I do, and what I prefer to do, is I get the F sharp in the bass with my second finger.
Oh, okay.
And then your third and fourth fingers for the rest of it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I like this fingering over. So again, usually when we play this D with F sharp in the bass, we don't need the first string. We're not even going to play it, so we don't worry about getting a note there, right? If we did, we have only two other choices. It's either we play the regular D and wrap the thumb, or we play it with all four fingers like this. You know, we play the D chord with these three fingers,
Yeah.
and then get the F sharp in the bass with your first finger, which is another, you know, new pyrotechnic move, kind of, you know. But we don't have to go to that trouble in this song because of what he's doing.
Because of okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the other reason I like this fingering, second finger here, is because it's just as common to play this chord as a D7 chord, meaning instead of the D that I have here, I'm going to play a C back here. Now I've got this finger available to play the first fret.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So really common in any song in the key of G. It's really common on the D chords to have the F sharp in the bass, and then it's also common to make it a D7 chord because it's chord 5 in the key.
Right.
Right?
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, so take the capo off
Okay.
and play a C7 chord now.
Okay. Play C7 here.
Yeah. Okay, and if you move it up a whole step, as we just talked about, if we don't play the first string, it's just D7, but if we play the first string, it's D9.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Well, what happens if we move it up another whole step?
So it's D7. Now it's E7.
And how many strings could you play now?
I can play the 4 middle ones. I can play these.
Well, and what about, why couldn't we play the other two?
They're both E's, and well, we're E. I guess we could.
Right. So this is, you can strum, this is a great way to play E7 because you can hit all 6 strings and it's an easy shape. You know? Yeah. And it's this. That's the way he played Born on the Bayou, was that chord.
Okay, so it's
It's just the middle 4 strings. That's it.
is it one? It's that pattern again?
Alternate. Well, it's a little different because it's a constant. It's every eighth note now. It's 1 and 2 and.
Okay,
So it's you hit every stroke. Right. Now, yeah. What he probably really does, I'll have to think about this, is on the first beat, it's better to use like both E's. Aim for like the 6th and 5th strings. And then continue it with the next 3 notes. Try that.
This is down. Is the second?
It's an up now.
No. Okay.
And you have to skip that string, right? Right.
That is.
Yeah. And if we just played that same set of 4 all the time, we'd have this. This is not what he does. You can hear he doesn't keep pounding those. You don't hear all those low bass notes. You only hear one, I think, for every set of 4 of them. It's more like this. So he skips the first down on succeeding times. Okay, so I think you only hit that down 1 time, and then you do 3 more of them, always missing that down. You know, so it's really, yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, except all of those little cycles of 3 notes start with an up.
Or with an up. So
Because it's the down we left out.
Right, okay.
No. And now it'd be time to hit the bass again. Like at the beginning of every 2 measures, each one of those little repetitions is 2 beats long, right?
Right.
Okay? But so at the beginning of every 2 measures would be the time to hit the first one again. So you hit the low one, then again you miss it the next 3 times.
Right.
And then you hit it again at the beginning of what would be the 3rd measure.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and this is another. This is a classic. He's got a few of these, but this is a one chord song. It doesn't change chords during any of the singing. There's a part that comes up later. So he's singing this, when I was just a little boy, standing to my daddy's knee. My papa said, son, don't let the man get you. Do what he done to me. Don't forget you. Then he goes into the chorus eventually, born on the bayou. Now this is where there is a quick little change. So he does this. Born on the bayou. Born on the bayou. That was a D and an A. Just quickly, following each line. Yeah. And so that's the only thing that happens in this other than cool leads and, and other stuff. Yeah. So it's a quick D and an A. I'm sure I have a lesson on this up at TG, so you could, there's probably tablature and everything, and I hope it's like what I just told you about all this stuff, because this is one of those, again, played it since I was a teenager, and it's sort of evolved over the years, and every once in a while I'll listen to John play it again or something, and says, oh, that's a little different than anyway, things kind of morph or evolve or over the years and become,
I wonder if he's done one of these in his family series.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked in the last. It seems like he's been putting up a lot of them.
I'll take a look and see what he's doing with it, because those are pretty good. They have pretty good visual quality.
Oh, really good. Yeah.
He's doing, and all, which is really kind of.
Yeah.
On his birthday, I looked up. It said that in Wikipedia or something, because I was trying to figure out from the different venues that he has outdoors there, and everyone else scans the. Yeah,
you can see. Yeah. So did you pin down where he is?
Where is he? Well,
I don't know.
According to Wikipedia, it was quite a number of years ago. He lived in Reading.
Well, that's certainly not Reading. That's the Bay Area that we're seeing his thing from now, I think. Don't you? I mean, it wasn't.
Well, it looked like it to me. That's why,
Yeah. Boy, I thought I'm pretty sure he's in Contra Costa County someplace. He can't be far from you. It's just that he's up in maybe the Berkeley Hills someplace or the Oakland Hills. But then you'd think you'd see a better view of. I'll have to look at that again. Then you'd think you'd see like the Golden Gate Bridge or something, which
you don't.
You don't. Yeah.
There's hills and such and all, which you could. And if you live sort of in the hills of the edge of Reading and looking out towards the Trinity Alps and all that,
yeah,
you could see something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
A family affair, though. It looks like all the boys are in his band now.
Yeah. And it seems like the daughter doesn't seem like she's real important in there. She's just strumming along for fun, But the two boys seem like they're doing the heavy lifting, playing the bass and the lead guitar parts, But it certainly does. Yeah. So.
Okay. So Born on the Bayou. So I got lots of stuff to work on here. Illegal Smile. The most important thing here is to ingrain that picking pattern, which is the same down, down, up.
Yeah.
And get it worked into picking as opposed to strumming.
Yeah, and again with the light anchor down there like that.
Work on that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I will be working on that. Okay. I am gonna miss next week.
Okay.
It's my wife's birthday.
Oh. Okay. Want to just plan on 2 weeks then? Or you want to take a break for a while, or what do you think?
You know what? I might have to miss it depends. The next week depends on whether or not they open up parks in Columbus County, because we were going to do a camping trip.
Oh.
I don't know that.
Okay.
So if we don't do that, then 2 weeks, yes. If we do that, I guess, or if they do open up the parks, we won't know that for another week or so. So
Well,
I'll just
easy enough to just leave it up in the air until and you know I'm not locked into Thursdays. I have some other availability like earlier in the week and stuff too. So we can just touch base when you know what you know, like maybe at the beginning of that week. Ping me and see what. Let me know what you're doing, and maybe we could do Tuesday or Wednesday of that week if you wanted.
Okay.
So.
Right. Okay, good.
Okay, I'll send you the link to this in a little while, and I'll plan on being in touch soon.
All right.